Hi everyone, and welcome back to the channel. This is your night owl host Carmina, welcoming you to another episode where we use astrology and cards of truth to explore a world event this time. So the reason why you're not seeing me is that I'm currently in my pajamas. I was actually getting ready to go to bed and sleep. But I was scrolling through my newsfeed and I saw a post unusual. It was like Notre Dame and two crying emojis, and then another post from another person, goodbye Notre Dame. So I was like, okay, what's happening? Let me just Google it. And I saw that today, April 15, the historical Notre Dame cathedral that was built in the 1200s. 1200s? Yes, it was like nearly 900 years ago, so it's a super duper historically loaded edifice. It caught on fire, and I know the firemen have been trying to cool the flames down for hours and hours, and the top part was destroyed. But as I also predicted in the article that I wrote, they said that they managed to salvage the main framework, the main structure, as well as, some important part of it. So there's still hope from underneath the ashes. So I quickly went to write an article on my website, carmina-amza.com. You can find it in the article section. I still have yet to move the other articles from my old website, Your Stars Aligned. But I wanted to share with you guys, for you guys who are not, into reading, but I thought this is such an exciting astrological event, and I'm going to show you the silver lining to this this very painful event. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to share my screen, a transit screen. What I did was I pulled up a chart for the time that the fire was first noticed, and that was 6:50 p.m. on the 15th of April 2019 in Paris, France. And we can see the ascendant here is Libra ascendant. We can see we have the ascendant Lord, which is Venus. The Lord of Libra, it's in Pisces in the 6th house, joined by very closely joined by Mercury, its friend, its natural friend. And also Neptune is here in Pisces, has been here for a very long time. It's like, it's not really tightly conjunct, but it's still pretty close. Right now it's nighttime and I'm trying to figure out how many degrees. It's like 6 degrees and a half between Neptune and Venus. So that's one thing happening here. Ascendant Lord in the 6th show the focus is here in the 6th house. The 6th house is enemies, wounds, and overcoming your enemies and fixing your wounds, because it's the natural, the 6th natural sign, because we consider Aries the first natural sign. The 6th natural sign is Virgo, of intelligently improving on a concrete level, and especially on the physical health. So we'll see how that plays out. Other actors in this intrigue are, let's see, we see the Jupiter here. Jupiter is a teacher planet, a Brahmin planet. It's in the 3rd house of courage, the 3rd house of, doing logical effort, some technical effort. It's in a fire sign in Sagittarius. This is the last of the fire sign, so it's the seasoned warrior who's fighting for an ideal, a belief more than something concrete. And this Jupiter is casting aspects. It's having a square on Venus, but it's also Rashi aspecting Venus, which means because Jupiter is a manifesting planet and is also the Lord of Venus, Jupiter is doubly manifesting Venus through Rashi aspects, because in Vedic astrology, all dual signs aspect each other. And Venus, which is already exalted, is also manifested by its friend Mercury. So it gets a triple manifestation, and it has a super good dignity, exaltation. So Venus is receiving a lot of help, but is in a bad situation, is like injured here in the 6th house. The circumstances are not so great. The 6th house is, a house that gives delays, that gives a lot of trouble. It gives, problems that you have to overcome with time and with a lot of logical effort. However, Venus itself is very strong and very supported, as we said. So that's why I thought, okay, there's going to be some silver lining. It's not going to burn to the ground. And another aspect that showed me that it's really not going to burn to the ground is I see the moon in the healing sign of Virgo that is applying to Mars here. Mars in Gemini. So the moon in Virgo is like a nursing influence. It's like the nurse comforting you, putting you some water bandage on your head when you have a fever. Because we already mentioned Virgo is the healing sign. It's getting, a Rashi aspect from Jupiter. It's getting manifested by Jupiter, and it's applying to Mars. Mars is the fiery, agitated planet. And this fiery, agitated planet is not in a comfortable sign. It's in the sign of Gemini. And the Lord of Gemini, Mercury, is a natural enemy to Mars. So Mars is not doing well there. Gemini is the sign of testing, of experimenting, of inventing, like doing a lot of experimental stuff. And Mars is the warrior. So it's good for a warrior to be more grounded, like Mars is in Capricorn, where it's exalted. When Mars is here in Gemini, it wants to treat war like a game. So it kind of tests out dangerous situations. So this is kind of the spark that ignited the fire. We can also see that Mars is the lord of the Maraka houses, which are the so-called death-inflicting, destroying houses. Mars is the lord of the 2nd and of the 7th house. So we can see some clues from here. Mars is placed in the 9th house of your tradition, your spiritual beliefs, your cultures, religious beliefs, and your beliefs that you were born with, okay? The natural law. And it makes sense because it's a cathedral. It's something very traditional. It's the home. It's an emblem of the Catholic Church, which is, a very traditional, very structured and very, 9th house thing. And then we haven't gotten to the most dynamic combination. We have this trio here, this trio of endings. We have Saturn, the last of the 7 more personal planets. It's like the gatekeeper before the node. Saturn has this energy of the 7, which in card reading is the energy of death, the energy of transformation. In the body, Saturn rules the elimination processes. So it has this ending, this connotation of letting go, but also, it's a painful letting go. Then we have, you can't even see it here because it's such a tight conjunction. But you see, we have Saturn at 20 degrees, we have Ketu, the south node, at 21 degrees, and then we have Pluto at 23 degrees. So they are within less than 3 degrees of each other, okay? The south node has the connotation of past actions, like the homeland, the pride of the homeland. And what is more emblematic, one of the most emblematic things in France, if not this Notre Dame cathedral. But the south node also has this connotation of liberation, a very spiritual connotation, okay? It is the planet in Vedic astrology that has the most spiritual potential, especially if it's connected to the 12th house from self factors. So we have that here. And of course, being a node, it's always going to allude to fated events. And then we also have Pluto, the third party in this trio of endings. Pluto here is, the ego basher, is the destroyer, is the destroying principle that burns down something, that burns the ego, that burns, what is not authentic, in order to reveal what is genuine, what is true. And I'm going to say that there were being restorations, reparations done, and the thing that burned and could not be saved was something that was restored in the 19th century. So, maybe these restorations that were being done were not being done so responsibly, who knows? But this is a very powerful combination. This shook that building to the core and the collective as well, because people were helplessly crying in the street, like French people, because it was part of their history. It's something they see every day. It's something they grew up with, their parents grew up with, their grandparents, and like hundreds of generations saw. And now to see it burn like a candle, it was pretty heart-wrenching, okay? And of course, I'm not a French person. I've never been to Paris. I haven't seen the Notre Dame, but I also felt the emotion. I felt, the pain that they felt. Like it must be like a very difficult experience. But as I was saying, maybe, because the outer layers were burnt, but the core still remains there. So there's always a promise. There's always something more to that. Like something was destroyed so that something transformational and more authentic can emerge. And let us remember that Notre Dame means our mother, so it refers to the divine mother. And we see here the feminine planets, the gentle, the soothing planets. Venus is, patching up the wounds in the 6th house. Venus in Pisces is a very, it's the expression of the highest love, because Venus is the planet of love, and in Pisces is like surrendering to the collective and universal love, right? And then we also have the moon here. The moon is in Virgo, the sign of healing, as we mentioned. The moon is the utmost feminine planet. So yeah, we see these planets like well dignified, in good conditions. They can offer the soothing to the pain that was happening here in the 4th house. This is a water house, a psychological house. It has to do with some collective peace of mind, like something was being burnt on a collective level. Something hidden is being revealed. Who knows what's going to be revealed there at the core of Notre Dame. So with this painful fiery event, there's also this trine between, Sun in Aries and Jupiter in Sagittarius. There's this difficult placement here in the fourth house of home and of emotional stability. But there's also this promise here, and this moon applying and soothing Mars. Yeah, so I also want to show you the card screen. So this is today's, okay, it's already the 16th. Let's go back one bit. I'm gonna show you here. Just 1 second. Why is it 2020? Yeah, because I was fidgeting. So we see that the card of the day of the 15th of April was the Six of Diamonds. The Six has the energy of Venus. We already talked about the exalted Venus and the feminine divine mother connection. And the Six of Diamonds is, strength, stability in earthy things. The Six of Diamonds is also one of the most intuitive cards in the deck, okay? Because Venus is the psychic planet and diamonds are like the concrete, earthy omens, practical things. And we see that the ecliptic for this day is the Three of Spades. The three has the energy of Mars, the troublemaker. We talked about Mars. Mars is the fiery planet. It's, if you see it when it's retrograde, it's really red. It's moving like really pretty hectically. And the spade suit, of course, is connected to the fire element. So the ecliptic is like an expansion of fire. We also see that at the moment that the fire started, it was at 6:50, so it was in this card, the Eight of Spades. This is an inner fire that is kind of stuck, okay? It's like the energy is under scrutiny. It's being introspected upon, the inner fire. So we can see the moon is here, Mars is here, Mars igniting the spark of the fire. The ninth cusp that we already discussed has to do with religion, has to do with tradition. The 12th cusp that has to do with churches, but also spirituality in general and meditation. So there is like an inner fire burning there. There was like a hidden inner fire. And it's promising to be soothed, maybe here in the Venus card. You see, we have Uranus here with the ascendant in the Venus card, in the Ace of Diamonds, a new concrete, a new fresh start. And Uranus is connected to this Nine of Hearts here, which is surrendering to divine love again. And also Moon and Mars here connect to these tens of rewards here. So I can say by looking at the chart and by looking at the cards that yes, this was a pretty traumatic event, but it was also an event that ignited some deeper healing on a collective level, that, caused some reflection and some introspection and some shaking up of the inner emotional life of the collective. So if you want to read about this also on my website carminaanza.com, you can see it. If you want to check out my other videos, feel free to do so. Drop me a comment in the comment box below. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. And I'll see you again soon with more videos on astrology, cards, human design, and any other occult tool that proves itself, helpful in our self-developmental journey. Okay, guys, I'll see you. Bye.